Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Amicable Divorce Network podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Ann Moore Grant, founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. As you know, our podcast is in season 2, and we are going chapter by chapter through the Amicable Divorce Network book, which is called Divorce Amicably, Your Roadmap to Resolution. We have 40 different network professionals who have contributed 80 different topics. And today we have reached chapter 23 with Nanette Murphy. Nanette is a divorce coach and one of our Amicable ambassadors, and she's here today to talk to us about building a solid divorce team. Welcome, Nanette.
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have the conversation and excited that the book is published.
Absolutely. So a lot of times when people are approaching divorce, they really only think, I need to go get a divorce attorney. But we are trying to educate people to make a bigger team if you can, and if you can't afford to do that and have those professionals help you. And it actually reduces legal costs sometimes to use the right person. So let's talk about the different categories of professionals. So we know there's legal and there's attorneys, but what else is there?
I am on this same platform you are, as we are on the Amicable Divorce Network, is educating people that it takes more than an attorney. And I always like to say, speak to a divorce coach. Talk to that divorce coach. They can help you figure out who they actually need, because of course they need an attorney. They need financial advisors, specifically a CDFA, a certified divorce financial advisor. From there, of course, we go into, there's the benefits of working with a coach and your financial advisor or mediators. And I come up against this a lot when consulting with people. They think that they don't have the luxury of hiring a divorce coach. And I really try to enforce that it's going to ultimately save the money in the long run, because less time with the attorneys, and the financial advisors can help them get their money in order and give them knowledge. So that's, what I'm always trying to tell my clients is, let's go in order. It's not a sprint. This isn't a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Let's take your time. Let's really discuss what you need, and the order of hiring is so important.
Yeah.
As you know.
And some other categories that we see are mental health professionals, which is, different than a coach. They're a specialist. They're going to help you figure out how to move forward and not, make these same mistakes again, and sometimes help with grief and different issues that people have.
Absolutely.
Mortgage and real estate if people are dealing with housing issues.
And people don't realize that there are real estate agents that specialize in
divorce. Yeah. We have a designation, the Certified Amicable Divorce Professional designation. It's a 2-day class that teaches our professionals, how to deal with divorce clients, how to resolve issues, how to help them. The last time we offered this class, it was almost half real estate agents, because a lot of times people reach out to them first.
Right.
To see, what are our options with the house? What are we going to do here? And so they like getting that training too.
Yeah. Also the mortgage lenders. I've learned a lot from talking to mortgage lenders who are professional in the divorce realm. It's quite a broad spectrum of professionals that are needed. I divorced 10 years ago, and I had no idea the opportunities of hiring people that were in front of me. So that's really kind of why I got into this.
Yeah, I always tell people to work with a mortgage professional that specializes in divorce, not just walk into your bank or use the person, that helped you out last time, because this is a very specialized process. You need to work with somebody that knows how to treat alimony, child support, income. There's certain durations you need to receive money to qualify for a mortgage or pay down your debt. That is very different than a legal agreement. Mortgage guidelines have nothing to do with what the law is, and we want people to be successful. So hire a specialist for your special process.
Right. Even the accountants, my clients will likely need forensic accountants. And you're talking about therapists and counselors. There's a line between therapy and coaching.
Yeah. We'll talk about what that is.
Yeah. Well, the therapists, people will often talk about therapy, and the difference is a therapist will help that person deal with what's in their past. They will help them deal with the trauma and maybe how they got to where they are today. And ultimately, the coach, we deal with the here and now, let's deal with the situations that you're in and move forward. That's really what's next in life. And Obviously, support groups are always good. Like one-on-one is wonderful. Support groups are really great too, because then you get to talk to people who are in the same boat. And when you hear someone else's situation, you're like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is normal, which is often how people feel when they're divorced.
Yeah, it's really good to have some connections with other people that have been through this or are going through it and feel the same way that you do. Because often when people are going through divorce, they feel quite isolated. You're usually nobody else in their life is going through the same thing, and it's very difficult. And sometimes they don't even know people that were divorced to even ask them for advice or get that understanding.
Very true, because so often they can have empathy for you. They have no real understanding.
Yeah.
And also, too, as a person divorcing, even just that one-on-one conversation with the coach, because let's face it, your family and friends feel like sometimes that's all you talk about when you're in the thick of it. I know I felt like that sometimes. I'm like, I feel like the conversation is always around me and what I'm going through. So that's the other really beneficial part of having a coach. Tracy, as an attorney, I don't want attorneys to charge less for their time. That's not what I'm asking, and that's why I love this network. It's spending less time with the attorney. When they actually come to you, they have some knowledge, they have the list of questions that they can ask, they've got their financials in order for the most part, and it makes their process go smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody comes in organized, that's a dream come true for a divorce attorney, and then the reality is you're not having to pay me to organize your information or my paralegal. You are, you've maybe already done that with a coach or, on your own, or, you've really dug into what needs to be done here, but it isn't the norm. Normally people are asking me like, what do you need? Or they bring sometimes a whole stack of documents that aren't in any order whatsoever. You don't want to spend an hour of my time, doing that. I always like to be very transparent with people. I charge $3.95 an hour. That's lower than rates in my area. I would say I have 23 years of experience. People generally charge about $500 an hour with that level of experience. What do you charge per hour?
I don't go by hour. I go by sessions.
Gotcha.
I have 6 sessions and 8 sessions. And interestingly enough, I'm going to bump that up to 8 and 12 sessions.
Oh, good. Yeah.
3 is definitely, there's no point. 6 is, it's okay, but I always find that you always need a few more. I'm always tweaking that, but it's under $200 an hour, like when the breakdown comes in. So, and that's just the whole thing is like, let's get these emotional sides out, let all your tears or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Or the questions, like a lot of times I'll be discussing things with my client and I'll say something or word something a little differently and I'll go, I never thought about it that way. That's really helpful. So again, we're all just here to try to help people get through this process smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah, I often get a lot of questions in consults that are a little odd, I guess, but might be on people's mind. But I'm like, that's not really going to help you understand like how I'm going to, help you with your case. But it's a very real example. I mean, if it takes me an hour at $400 an hour just about to organize your documents and you are half of that cost, there's real savings right there just by using the right person for the job. Absolutely. And I'm always telling my clients, and lawyers are famous for putting this in settlement agreements, like, I am not a tax expert. I am not a financial expert. That's not my background. I'm a legal expert. And so hire the person to help you with that can explain your assets to you, what's best for you, potentially budgeting. And usually that person is less expensive. You don't want me figuring out how to do your budget as a lawyer. That's a bad use of your money and time.
Right. I will tell my clients that all the time. It's like, we can discuss your budgeting. That was one of the first things I give them. Here's something where that you can break down your expenses and figure out your budget. You can work on it together, or you can work on it, on your own. But that's not something that you can do overnight either.
No.
Figure out your expenses. That takes you a minute or two to actually.
It does. Yeah. So often, we have the opportunity to collaborate on Detour.life, multiple professionals. It pulls data to help you with budgeting. Your coach can tune in, your financial person can tune in, a mortgage person, and you can add a mediator, remove a mediator. But then you're also not repeatedly producing the same information to multiple people. They can get invited to the platform as needed, see your information, help you with it, help you organize it, and go from there. But I think the number one thing where people get overwhelmed with building a team is they really do think there's going to be a much higher cost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially I mainly coach women, and I coach women who are over 50, over 40, the gray divorce. That is their biggest fear, is the finances. The biggest concern is moving forward and the money, which is normal. I went through it, so I can completely relate with them. So helping them figure out, how to get through that first year of divorce when that money is yours to invest in and to grow. It's all very important. But again, they're very nervous about spending too much money.
I hear that a lot as well.
It's educating people to realize that, you may have 3, 4, 5 people on your team, but ultimately it will be way less expensive.
And I think that's really hard for people to grasp. And so in the book, we have so many different chapters on, different things. And one of them is, questions to ask your attorney and other professionals. And usually, other than the attorney, often meeting with people for an initial appointment or figuring out what they cost doesn't cost you any money a lot of the times.
Right.
And so I would, encourage people to learn about the different roles, the different people that can help you, and just call a person, have a consult, have a meeting, and figure out how much do they charge, how much does this person charge. And you can even ask the lawyer, be very direct and say, if I hire a divorce coach, will that save me on my legal fees? Will you work with a certified divorce financial analyst, and what does that take off your plate? Because I would say the whole financial picture, just hand it over to them and they'll tell me how to word it.
Right.
Capture that information and look at the two totals. And usually the team results, you're going to get the right people for the right job cheaper than trying to make your attorney wear all of the hats.
Absolutely. Again, I think we say the same thing. We're trying to educate people because the norm is always, you're getting a divorce, who's your attorney? It's right away, who is that divorce attorney? 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was searching for an attorney, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, and I think this idea the attorney can do it all. I can't tell you how many times a week I say, I'm not the expert in that. I don't know. Let's get the person who is, and get that good information for you, because attorneys really are just the legal specialists. Something else that people have a concern about is, sort of disrupting the ecosystem. We're going to bring in this other person. How is that going to change the dynamic? How are they going to disrupt things? And so what sort of feedback do you have for that concern?
Well, again, my first thought is when you're planning your wedding.
Yeah.
You're not getting the same person to do the flowers, to do the food, to do the setup. Everyone has to have their specialty. And, it's the same thing in divorce. And again, I always say to people, I wish I would have had a coach, because the amount of money that I wasted, I didn't keep track of it, thank God, that people emotional with my attorney and venting and being angry, thousands of dollars spent.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
So,
and I've been told more than once that I'm not very empathetic. And I really think I am, and I try to be, but people really do expect a therapist and their attorney as well, or somebody who's going to be, and I'm there. What are the facts? How can I help you? Give me the list. What's the information? And I'm very used to dealing with emotion, and I think I do a good job, but sometimes, and I don't want to say, well, then go to somebody more empathetic for the right person.
Absolutely, but even especially in my sessions with my clients, we start off peaceful. We start off with breath work.
Yeah.
Because they're coming to me with questions and concerns, and they might have just had a run-in with their soon-to-be ex. Let's bring it all together. We're not going to rush through this. In between sessions, I tell my clients, if you need anything, just text me. I can tell you, and it's still a flat fee for all of that. So I think people don't realize the extras that they might get with a coach or their financial advisor who can help them organize or help them see clearly on their finances. So that
Yeah, because usually in a case, I have one person who was the money manager. They understand all the assets. They know where all the money is. And then I have the other person. They don't know anything. They handle different things in the relationship.
Right.
And so it's often they're just not on the same information starting point.
Right, right. You know, unfortunately, a lot of women, especially the gray divorce and over 50, over 40, 60 years old, they're of the generation of not handling the finances. They might have been the stay home, they took care of the house, they took care of their husband might have, controlled the money, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when it's, oh my gosh, they're on their own, they're single after 40 years of marriage, they're terrified.
Yeah. And until they're not fearful, it's not a good time to make an agreement.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think, you have to get that person comfortable with the decisions they're about to make because they're very big decisions. And sometimes that takes a while and takes the right kind of people to educate.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, that's, it's so important. I always say there's a group of people you need to hire, and the order that you hire them in is equally as important. And that's
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing, if people have a concern about, disrupting the ecosystem, so to speak, by bringing in different people with the Amicable Divorce Network, we vet everybody. So whether they are a realtor, mortgage professional, coach, lawyer, mediator, whoever it is, financial, mental health, they are all vetted for being resolution focused, experienced in their field, and engaging in fair billing practices. We all know that we have the same mindset about helping the client and have been vetted for all of the other factors to help them as well. So that's where it's really important to build the team that shares your mindset with how you want to approach your divorce.
Right. I tend to like to tag it, hire your posse.
That's a good one.
Yeah, just get your posse together, and because again, this is just take it slow.
Yeah.
Don't rush any decision. The other thing I wanted to add to share with people is, on average, a woman considers divorce 2 years. And I always say, in those 2 years, you can do so much research, gathering information, kind of gaining knowledge of your finances. So much can be done in those 2 years.
Yes, and we see most often it's women who take the first step towards divorce. That is a much higher rate when they have a college education. So they are the ones Googling at night looking for different things. So definitely I would say get the book. It describes how to approach your divorce, what the proper mindset is, the different types of divorce. It's a one-stop shop for you, and decide which route is best for you. Hopefully it's amicable, but it's not for everybody. So we do, point out all of the different kinds, and hopefully can guide people towards more efficient, meaningful resolutions. And again, I see the same thing you probably do. I see a lot of people who the divorce is unpleasant. They just want to go as fast as possible. Get me out of this. And it's sort of like being in the speed lane on the highway. It's prone to accidents.
Right. That's really
When you're going that fast, something's going to happen.
It's a great analogy. I've actually had clients come to me when they're like very close to the end of the divorce. And I will say to them, don't sign anything until you feel comfortable. And I've had a couple of them that just plowed through it and didn't listen, and ended up being really upset with the outcome.
Yeah, I think people I'm just going to take this deal. I'm just going to put my head in the sand and I just want this over with. And then when emotions calm down a little bit, I usually find it's like a year or two later, they might reach out and say, I really wish I'd listened to you and pursued that K, or valuing that pension, or getting an appraisal on the house. Just some things that are a good rule of thumb to, get a handle on and do properly in the divorce. And some people, it's just they find it to be so unpleasant that they just want to move as fast as possible. But hopefully working with the right people who are all here to support you, have a good divorce, take their advice. I often get paid for advice people do not take, which is fine. It's their right, but usually I do get that follow-up email like, oh, should have probably done that. Like that was, good to do. So just take a minute. There's generally no emergency out there that, you can't pause and get the right information.
Right. And people just need to realize that we know what we're talking about. I'm doing this because I've lived through it and made many mistakes. But yet I did many things right, but there were times where it's just like, wow, I wished I would have had someone to talk to about that.
And often you get one shot. you don't get to redo your property settlement or, go back and revisit these things. You get that one shot to do this important transaction that involves everything in your life. Just hit the pause button, take that good advice that you're paying for and get it done properly.
Right, because there's so much anxiety when you're going through divorce. And there's that divorce brain, that fog that is so real.
Yeah.
Like, people just aren't, they don't understand why they can't think clearly. Smart, intelligent people that just kind of seem to lose all common sense, so to speak. And I say that because absolutely. And then you look back, like you said, a year or 2 years later, going, what was I thinking? Why did I listen? Yeah.
Now that I feel a little bit better, emotions are down, I really wish I'd made some different steps, and it's too late to do that. So, just go a little bit slower. I promise it will be okay. Saw somebody else's quote, and I can't remember who it was, but it was, divorce didn't kill anybody. So, it isn't pleasant. I'm divorced, you're divorced. A lot of us in the network have been through that experience, and we're all here to help and create a better experience.
Yeah, share knowledge.
For people listening and they want to work with you, how can they reach you?
The best, most direct way is to go to my website, livelifenowwithpurpose.com, and everything I have is there: resources, email, book a call, and a lot more podcasts.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you're driving and you're like, I'll never remember that, save this episode. It will be in the show notes. You can also find Nanette in the Amicable Divorce Network directory, and she's also our Amicable ambassador for Michigan. I appreciate all of your hard work on that. Nanette, thank you for writing this chapter in the book. That is so important, and for all that you do for your client.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be in the book.